So guys, a lot to digest, that is for sure. However, I do think that this team showed more fight and more desire to win the game than we usually do. And I certainly also think a better performance than we have had recently under Igor Tudor. So first of all, let's of course have a look at the lineup that we played. And obviously looking at it, a few things do come to mind. Obviously, we had Van de Ven suspended, we have Romero injured, and so we had Danso and Dragusin coming to fill in. I feel like Danso did a decent job. Dragusin, I do think he was quite poor today, but overall, we only conceded one goal. Yes, it could have been a lot more, but it's okay for now. But hopefully, they could start playing a bit better. Obviously, Sousa was put on this right wing. I'm not really sure whether I agree with that or disagree with that yet. Let me know what you think down below, but certainly not his normal position, so that was interesting to see. Did he play well? I mean, he didn't really do that much. He didn't make any game-losing mistakes. He wasn't brilliant either. Obviously, Richarlison had a pretty good game. Solanke was alright. Tell certainly the whole game he showed he was really trying. Yes, he didn't score. Yes, he didn't get an assist, but there were some good dribbles. There were some signs of light. He certainly was showing that he cares and that he has the desire to try and keep this team in the Premier League. Then, of course, Szoboszlai did score with a free kick. And about this, obviously, online, some of you guys have already probably seen, Vicario has come under some fire. And I do mean this when I say that Tottenham Hotspur, as crazy as it sounds, because we're like the 8th or 9th richest club in the world, we have a goalkeeping crisis. We saw last game with Kinski, who was brought on because Vicario has been having bad performances, and then he goes and makes all those mistakes, then Vicario is subbed on, and then in this game, Vicario, immediately off that free kick, obviously it looked like he did leave quite a lot of space on the right side of that goal for Szoboszlai to aim for, and that's precisely what happened. And Vicario even got a full hand to it, but still was too weak and not strong enough to keep it out. So that was pretty good, poor goalkeeping, and I feel like we were unlucky to go down at the break. We were unlucky to go in at the break 1 goal down. We certainly were not the better team in the first half, but we were certainly well in it. And in the second half, I mean, really, we were showing fight to win that game, which personally as a Spurs fan does make me really, really happy, because obviously in the first half we were really under some fire, obviously with the goal, obviously with Gakpo hitting the post. Obviously in the first half as well, we did see that there was quite a big gap between our defence and the attack. Whenever we turned the ball over, it was very difficult to play out from the back, because to be honest, I don't actually think we're very much good enough to actually do that. But looking at the stats, I mean, in the second half, it also backs it up. This is the whole game stats, but the point is we had more shots on target. We had a decent number of shots. Our XG wasn't too different. Obviously, we did have less possession, but then again, we are away from home, so that is obviously to be expected also with the way we are currently playing at the moment. But, I mean, also we have more corners. Honestly, it was not a bad performance overall. And then we can also look at the second half. Really, 5 shots on target compared to 2. It does show you that also we had the fight. Also, I mean, look, we scored in the 90th minute. We had the fight to come back and score that equalising goal. Richarlison, obviously, he has scored at Anfield before. He scored very late at Anfield before. And then, obviously, Diogo Jota went on to score that winning goal for them a few years back. I was very scared that something similar would happen this year. But thankfully, it didn't. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the whole second half, it was enjoyable to watch. Like, don't get me wrong. It was enjoyable to watch from a football perspective. Obviously, I was a Spurs fan, so obviously very, very worrying and very, very nerve-wracking to watch. But then again, I mean, very enjoyable to watch. It was end-to-end business. Obviously, we looked like we were honestly going to score quite a few times then. And also, another thing to mention is, early on in the second half, Richarlison did get through on goal, and Virgil van Dijk did pull him, or at least hold him for a bit. And Richarlison did manage to get the shot away, but didn't score. And obviously, this can be interpreted a couple ways. Obviously, you could say, oh, it wasn't enough force, and therefore, no pen. He still got the shot away. But then again, you can also look at it like, well, maybe it was similar force, if not more force, than what Lacroix did for Palace on Cunha, and then he got sent off and it was a pen. Or what Van de Ven did to the Palace player, where he got sent off and it was a pen. So obviously there is some inconsistency on that part. That can obviously be looked at. But to be fair, I mean, looking at the team we had, I genuinely think our players are showing a bit more fight at the moment, which is good to see. Obviously, scoring a 90th minute equaliser at Anfield shows that the players are obviously trying. Obviously, they should be trying. It almost feels weird saying this, but with the recent performances we have been having, like it almost seems surprising, right? It almost does seem quite surprising, but there are still things which need to be worked on. Obviously, the playing up from the back at points, even in the 88th minute when we needed another goal, we were passing it all the way back to the keeper. In the first half, it was looking impossible to even get into their half. It was looking very, very, or maybe not impossible, but I'm saying like our playing out from the back just isn't good enough. I don't think we're actually good enough to do that at the moment. Obviously, there are some players who I do feel played subpar. I have already mentioned Dragusin. I've already mentioned Vicario, them two mainly. Porro a bit at the end. I mean, maybe he was all right, but sometimes his crossing was just quite poor. Obviously, it's one of his main things which he needs to do as a right back. Obviously, Sousa was playing slightly out of position. And then, of course, there is this whole thing about Igor Tudor. I mean, do we keep him or do we sack him? I did make a video the other day about, well, he needs to go. It's very simple. He needs to go. And I mean, obviously, we can look at the table. We can look at this table and we can see, obviously, our form, I mean, it hasn't been great. Obviously, it hasn't quite yet updated on FootMob, I think, unless I refresh it real quick, just to see if it does refresh and if it actually gives us the table here. But no, it still hasn't refreshed. But the point is, in our last 5 games, we've had 4 losses and 1 draw under Igor Tudor. So that's not good. He was brought in to get points. He hasn't got them. He's got 1 point out of a possible 4 in the Premier League, which isn't great. Obviously, today he wasn't helped by the fact that Vicario did make, I wouldn't say a howler, but I'd say a pretty big mistake to go down 1-0 before the break. And to be honest, I genuinely believe we could have won that game. Obviously, in that second half, there was a lot of end-to-end. Liverpool coming up the pitch, counter-attacking after we couldn't convert chances clinically down their end. They were coming back. It could have easily have been a lot of a higher scoreline, that is for sure. Liverpool could have easily have put the game to bed. But then again, we could have easily not have conceded that free kick and also gone on to score well more than 1 goal. So it can be looked at a couple ways, but obviously, there are things which we need to work on. I've mentioned, obviously, the goalkeeping crisis. I've mentioned the playing out from the back. I've mentioned the crossing. I've mentioned some players and my opinions. I do believe that those are essential things that need to be fixed. Because obviously, I mean, we can look at it. We're 1 point above the relegation zone. I mean, it's not good. Like, obviously, we've just scored a 90-minute equaliser. Obviously, that's all great. But we're only 1 point above the relegation zone. So it can be looked at 2 ways. And I mean, it's the same as before this game week. I mean, Nottingham Forest drew and West Ham also drew. So all we've done today is literally keep it the same as it was earlier. Except now there's 1 game week less to play. But overall, I'm just kind of glad that these players seem to be showing a bit more fight than usual. Obviously, I'm slightly angry at Vicario for that mistake in goal. Some of the defending was poor, admittedly. Should have been maybe a little bit more clinical up front. Some refereeing decisions could have gone our way. But overall, it's a slight improvement. Obviously, as is showed by the result and also by the stats, obviously, that we do have. The stats do show that, 5 shots on target in that second half. Overall, we had 7 shots on target. 2 big chances. 1 big chance missed. Obviously, we know what that was. Richarlison, even with a couple headers in the first half, that could have easily have gone in on another day. So really, a big improvement. Well, a slight improvement. An improvement of some size, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And as a Spurs fan, I feel like, obviously, we're still in the mud. We're still not great, but it is certainly getting better. But I'm not sure if they will sack Igor Tudor. I think it is essential that perhaps they do, because let's go. I mean, I'm treating that as if it's gone. But Nottingham Forest next week is, I cannot even begin to comprehend how nervous I am for that game. And also, I don't even want to go into how important that game is, because quite frankly, I'll probably end up feeling sick. So, yeah, that's the video for today. Yeah, Tottenham v Liverpool 1-1. Decent display. Obviously, could have been better in many ways. But, yeah, that's the video for today. Like and subscribe if you did enjoy, obviously. Help this channel get to 1,000 subscribers. And maybe share it with a friend if you did enjoy as well. I'd appreciate that a ton. See you guys in the next one. And come on, you Spurs.